Okay, so congrats. You either just got into UC Berkeley or you might be on the wait list, but regardless of what position you're at, here's some things you should know about Cal before attending. So I'm currently a senior right now at UC Berkeley with one more semester left, and these are some things that I wish I would have knew about Cal before attending. And this video is made to inform you more about what to expect as a Cal student rather than to persuade you to not attend Cal, because I totally think that even though Cal has its downsides, that the return on investment for the education and the career opportunities at Cal outweigh all the downsides. And the style of the video is just going to be a complete rant. So if you want to go to the topic that you're more interested in, go ahead and check out the timestamps down below to see what I'm going to be talking about in the video. But with that, let's get started on what you should know before attending Cal. Okay, so starting off, and I think I'm going to start off with the social scene first because I think that's more interesting. So with Cal, I've found it hard to make genuine friends at Cal, and it's because of the sole reason, and I really thought about it. It's because that everybody's so busy at Cal. Everybody's so motivated, ambitious to reach their goals at Cal, to do well academically, that it kind of like hinders your ability to hang out with friends on like a daily basis. And don't get me wrong, I've made really good friends at Cal, but there's been a lot of times where I want to hang out with someone, but we're both totally just busy for the week with either midterms or interviews. So everybody's schedule is just really jam-packed. And if you really want to hang out with a certain person, you really have to make the extra effort to find a time that both of you guys could like meet up or go to the library or get food. So this aspect about Cal has made it a bit harder to make genuine friends that will last more than my 4 years at college. And moving on to another social topic about Cal is the social scene. So like a lot of other schools, if you want to go to parties, especially like frat party, you have to be in Greek life. There's very few exceptions where you could be outside of Greek life and attend these parties. So if you're not in the Greek life cult at Cal, it's pretty hard to go to these parties to make a lot of friends. And even though this is true at most schools, Cal's no exception. And unless you have a really good fake or you're 21, it's kind of hard to like go to a real party. And the area of Berkeley and being in the Bay Area, most of the fun stuff's in San Francisco. And even with that, you have to be 21 plus. So there's been a lot of times where I've just been pretty bored with the Berkeley nightlife. So that's something to consider when attending Cal, just a decent social scene. And even if you're in Greek life, these parties could get really, really repetitive. But then again, nobody really goes to Cal for the social scene. So moving on to a topic that I wish I would have known more in depth about, and I would say is the major downside to Berkeley, is the crime. So I knew going into Cal that there's a lot of crime, there's a lot of homelessness, but I wasn't prepared for the large amount of crime that actually happens, and I don't think anybody is. And this is coming from a person that grew up in a low income community with an above average rate of crime. So I thought I would have been prepared for the amount of crime that would happen at Berkeley, but the level amount of crime that happens at Cal is almost at a level of like a third world country. And so all Berkeley students, we have like an email notification of all the crime that happens around Berkeley. And I've just become numb to the wild things that happen. So for example, we've had shootings at our like local bar. There's also been like recently, like in this past month, someone walking back home to the dorms got pulled up by a car with someone having an assault rifle. So stuff like that doesn't even surprise me anymore. And it's scary because this stuff shouldn't be normal. And I would say that the majority of people at Berkeley, even myself, don't feel safe in the area. And you have to take a lot of precautions when you're going home at night. And thankfully for myself, I live really close to campus, a block away. But even living only a block away in like a pretty safe like area, someone outside my window once last semester got robbed while they're on a scooter at night. So stuff just doesn't surprise me anymore at Berkeley, and it's something you should know about before attending Cal. And moving on to the last few topics, one is how expensive Cal is, and just in general the Bay Area, how expensive it is pretty crazy. So I came from SoCal, Los Angeles, and the cost of living is pretty high, but with Cal, it's just on another level. So I've become accustomed to paying like $20 for a meal now, which is actually pretty crazy. And from my experience, all the stores in Berkeley, they're like family owned. There's very little large corporation chains like Chipotle that are in Berkeley because some of the restrictions that Berkeley has. So a lot of these mom and pop shops, even though like it's a good thing that they're supporting small business, a lot of them mark up their prices. I'm not too sure to make more profit or to keep up with the cost, but regardless, all the food in Berkeley is a lot more expensive, especially near Cal. So on the low end, you'll be paying maybe like $15 for a meal, but on the high end, you'll be paying maybe like $30 for a meal. And going on to like the direct school culture, so something that I wish I would have known as well of how competitive it is points to get into a club. So with most clubs at UC Berkeley, regardless of what club you're applying to, most clubs have like less than a 5% acceptance rate. So they'll get hundreds of applications for a recruiting period, and they'll only take about like 5 to 10 applicants. And from my experience, about like 80% of the applicants get cut at the resume check. And because these clubs are social in nature, it's really hard to get into them without like a referral, without knowing a friend that's in the club. So a lot of people, they won't get in their freshman year. They'll have to wait until their sophomore year to know some of the people through like outside connection to try to get their foot into the door for that club. And the freshmen that usually get into these clubs are usually cracked. They have already stuff on their resume, and that usually gives them a leg up to applying to these clubs. And it really sucks for junior transfers because they're mainly looking for freshmen or sophomores for these clubs. So they'll have the members for the entire 4 years rather than a junior transfer for 2 years. And that's just the reality of things for clubs at Cal. And an outcome of this competitive club culture and competitive academics as well in the classroom, people are very competitive in their ambitions for getting good internships, and I found it as a really good positive to be more career orientated. For some people, it puts a lot of pressure on them to getting a good internship, especially for their junior internship. That's like when all things are on the line. So the only way I view this as a negative is that it puts a lot of expectations on you, and a lot of people, when they're going through the recruiting process, put themselves like in a box, just trying to focus on interviews, working on the resume, and just mass applying to places and trying to network as well. So with this process, it get pretty depressing as you see a bunch of rejections come in and a lot of pressure with your fellow peers, seeing them get good internships. So this could play into like the toxic culture at Berkeley, and it's something that you should be aware of. And lastly, for the last thing I think you should know before attending Cal is how cold the weather is. So a lot of people of my friends that came from the East Coast, they thought coming to California that it'd just be sunny, that it'd be good weather. But the Bay Area, it's pretty cold, very windy. I've had to change up my entire wardrobe. Coming from SoCal, I just kind of did shirts and shorts for what I wore like day to day, but I've had to like adapt and get that Patagonia sweater, get that North Face vest, whatever. And honestly, it's pretty funny like going to the Bay Area. It'd be funny seeing like how like very common everybody dresses. But with that like wraps up my things that you should know before attending Cal. And even though these are the downsides of Cal, I think the return on investment for your Cal degree, all the benefits of getting a great education and the great career opportunities at Cal completely outweigh the cons. But then again, personally, I was looking for an education that was good academically and had good career opportunities. And what you might be looking for might be a bit different. But with that wraps up my video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys got some value out of it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.